All right, so now let's work on the front end part for our registration. So I'll just go to the register page, and we're going to come here, open the register page as well. So I'll just do Control P and register, hit enter on that. So first thing is, let's just handle the form data. When you type something inside of this input, we want to be able to get the data. So I'll create a state to just handle that very quickly. I'll come here and I'll just say use state, and I'll use a use state snippet. Aha, so I'll call this form data. Escape that, and then initially it's going to point to something I have not created, but it's going to point to an initial state. So I'll come outside here and create the initial state. So I'll say const initial state, initial state, and that's just going to be an object that will have 4 properties. So when we are registering, we need the name of the user. Maybe I should allow this contact form to show. Aha. So when we are registering, we need the name of the user, which I'm going to make an empty string and then comma, and then I'll just duplicate it. We need the email of the user, email. Then we're going to need a password. Now, technically in the back end, these are the 3 pieces of information we need, but in the front end, we want to be able to make the user confirm their password. Just a way of validating so that they know they are sure of the password they entered. So here, I'll just make this password 2. I'm not sending password 2 to the backend, mind you. It's just the 1, 2, 3 that I'm sending. Okay, great. So now let's import use state, because I have not imported it from React, and that's it. So now at least we have our form data. Then there is another state I'm going to create. I will say use state snippets, and that's a state that will monitor the loading process. So I'll just say is loading, and then let's make it capital letter here, and initially it's going to be set to false. Great. So those are the 2 pieces of state that we need. Now right here, before we even enter inside of our form, I'm going to destructure all the data that we have inside this form data. So the name, the email, all the properties rather. So I'll just come here and say const, and that's going to be equal to form data. So what are the properties we have inside the form data? Well, we have the name of the user, the email, then this needs to be a comma, sorry. So comma, name, email, and then password, and then we also have password 2. Yeah, great. So now we can head inside of our form and start working on that. So if you look inside the form, you notice that we have these input fields, and they all have the name already attached. So see the name here, we set that to name. So what you need to do is you need to add a value and an unchanged property. That's what we're using here. So but the unchanged property is going to call a function that will just handle the input change. So I want to handle the input change from 1 point. So let me show you. I'll just come up here and I'll create a function. So let's just say arrow function, and this one will just say handle input change, like so. Great. Now, although initially it's not going to do anything, but I just wanted to have it created first before I now write it, call it here. So for the name, we're going to have a value that will point to name, and we're going to have an unchanged property that will point to a function which we're going to call handle input change. But let me see. So yeah, I'll just say handle input change. Yeah, that's it. Now this is also going to apply to the rest of the form input field. So I'll just copy this guy like so, and remember this name must be the same thing with this name property here. So the value, remember we're pointing to name, this name must be the same with whatever you write here. So name. So I'll come here, the second input is email, I'll paste that in, and then I'll change this to email. So you see email. Then the next one is password. So come here, slot that in, and this will change to password as well. And the last is the password 2. So come here, paste that in, and this will be password 2. Great. So now we've been able to at least slot in everything we need inside here. Next, let's create the function that will handle the submit. So when we click on the submit button, what do we want to do? Well, I want to call a function that will register this guy. So I'll just come to the form here, and then I'll add an onSubmit property, onSubmit, and then I'll just say I want to call it register, REGI, like so. Now remember, I've not created this function as well, so I'm just going to come here, create an arrow function, and name it register. So arrow function, and it's going to be register. Great. So let's start by adding the function that will handle the input change. So when the user is typing inside the input field, what do we want to do? We want to be able to access the input. So here we're just going to put an E here, so event, because typing is an event. So now you remember that each of the input field has a name property and a value property. We can use the event parameter, so event.target.name, to target the two of them. Okay, so I'll just come here and then I'll say const. First of all, I'll destructure the name and the value from the event.target property. So event.target. I've destructured it from two of them. And oh, sorry, that there needs to be an equals here to properly destructure it. So after you do that, now we have access to the name of each input field and the value of each input field. So I will now set form data, and let's open this up. So because it's an object, I would put my object syntax here, and first of all I'll use my spread operator to get the previous values of anything you've written before in the form data. Okay, form data, not form date. Okay, form data. Then I will now set the name. I'll point the name to its respective value. All right, so this simple method here, you can just use this file handle input change across the form. So the only way we can confirm that this is actually working is, first of all, if you save this file and you come here, you'll see that first of all you're able to type into the input field. So let me just do 1 2 3. So you see I'm able to type into the input field, but then inside of this my register function, I'll just come here, add an event parameter, and first thing is I'll just say event.prevent default, so that the form does not reload the page, which is the default behavior of a form. So call the prevent default, then when you click on submit, log the form data to the console. So I'll just say form data. Aha. So this is the way we can confirm that we are able to get our form data. So I'll just save this file and then let's just come here and test it out. So I'll expand this guy and then I'll just open my console. Okay, so let's start with the name, and then I'll just say my name is Zeno, and my email, I'll just select my test email here, and the password I'll just say 123, and then here also I'll say 123. Okay, it's hanging and I don't even know why. 123, and here 123. Okay, so evidently there's something wrong in password 2. I'm trying to type and it's not working. So let's just make sure that we did everything correctly here. So for password 2, yeah, we destructured it, password 2, and then here this is password, that's correct, and here, aha, so we didn't change the name here to password 2. So you remember I said that the name and the value must be the same. So that's what was the problem there. So I'll save that and then let's come back here, let it compile. Aha, so now everything should work just perfect. So I will change this to 123, and then I'll change this to 123, and then I'll click on register. Aha, so you see now we're able to log that data to our console, and if you open this up, you see we have the email, we have the name, the password 1 and password 2. So in the next video, we're now going to write the function to actually register the user. All right, see you there.